Chapter 13. Vices. Stepping out of the jeweler's, Aunt Lin gently stroked the small lacquered box in her hand. With Lady Chu Chen's package secured, she should have been heading straight back to their manor. However, with the day still young, she decided there was time for a small diversion, and instead started walking towards the stadium where the New Star tournament was being held. Arriving at the building, she found the entrance, along with the adjoining streets, packed full of people, all of whom were jostling for position. Taking the precaution of secreting away the lacquered box inside one of her sleeves, she went to join the bustling crowd. Finally making her way to the front of the crowd, she looked up at the massive board looming above her. Made of interconnecting bamboo poles, it was as large as a wall and as high as the stadium's gates. On it were hung the names of the tournament's remaining contenders. With the elimination rounds completed, the original 84 silver and bronze candidates had been whittled down to 24, matching the number of gold and jade competitors. To celebrate the completion of the first stage of the tournament, a grand banquet had been announced for the remaining contenders, giving them the opportunity to check out the competition and to establish connections for the future. Excitement for the tournament had reached a fever pitch, with everyone in Wuzhong City curious about what the final results might be. With curiosity came speculation, which inevitably led to gambling. Thus, here at the entrance to the stadium and under the names of the remaining competitors, dozens of stalls had been set up to take bets from anyone who fancied a flutter. Above each stall was a board showing the odds they were offering. After looking around, Aunt Lin found one whose odds she liked and made her way towards it. The stall owner looked up from his seat to see the smiling matron staring down at him.
10 weights of silver on Lady Zhang Chuchen to win.
The stall owner blinked at Aunt Lin's words. 10 weights of silver were nearly an entire year's wages for the average clerk, and he hesitated for a moment, wondering if the modestly dressed woman in front of him really could afford the bet. The moment of empathy passed quickly, and the stall owner reached for paper and brush to begin writing up the ticket. When finished, he stamped it with his gambling den's official seal and handed it to the matron in exchange for the silver. Placing the wager into the strong box beside him, he looked back up and was surprised to see the woman still standing there.
And another 20 silvers on Mo Gun of the Bleeding Sword Academy to place in the semi-finals.
This time, the stall owner's jaw dropped open. Hastily, he opened up the ledger and quickly looked up the odds on Mo Gun. 10 to 1 to place in the top 10, 50 to 1 on reaching the semi-finals, 100 to 1 on reaching the finals, and 1,000 to 1 on actually becoming the champion. To call him a long shot would be an understatement, and the stall owner was immediately suspicious of the woman's bet. Mumbling an excuse to her, the stall owner rose from his seat, made his way to the back of the stall, and pulled out a book that held the winning records of the tournament's remaining competitors. Finding Mo Gun's name, he scrutinized the numbers, looking for any anomalies that might justify the woman's confidence. Mo Gun's advance in the tournament had been steady if unremarkable, and he had defeated his opponents efficiently. However, there was no indication that he possessed any special skills or items that might give him an edge in his future fights. Unable to find any reasons not to accept the wager, he had no choice but to return to his seat and write up a second ticket, which he handed over to the woman in exchange for the promised silver. Pocketing the ticket, The woman turned and walked away, leaving the stall owner with a sickening feeling growing in his stomach. Awkwardly, Mo Gun stood in front of the full-length mirror as a pair of servants fussed over the jade-green robe he was wearing, making sure that everything was just right. Although tailor-made to perfectly fit and show off his lean, athletic build, Mo Gun felt uneasy wearing the beautiful robe decorated with real silver thread. It just felt wrong, like he was wearing someone else's skin, and no matter what he did, he just could not get used to it. Out of the corner of his eye, he spied Lok Yip grinning like a cat from his seat at the other side of the room, and felt his unease turn into annoyance.
"You're enjoying this, aren't you?"
Snapped Mo Gun.
"Immensely,"
replied Lok Yip, not even bothering to hide his amusement as his grin turned into a smirk. Anger started bubbling up inside of Mo Gun, and just as he was about to unleash an angry retort, there was a knock on the door. Upon being summoned, Dean San stepped into the room and bobbed his head sheepishly, first at Lok Yip and then at Mo Gun.
"The palanquins have arrived. Is the young sir ready to leave?"
The man asked humbly, his tone of voice completely at odds with his status as the head of the academy. He then turned to Lok Yip.
"Lord Lok, are you sure you don't want to come?"
Lok Yip shook his head.
"As amusing as it might be to witness my apprentice's discomfort firsthand, I will leave that pleasure solely to you, my dear Dean."
Forcing himself to remain silent, as he didn't want to give his master the satisfaction of knowing that his teasing had gotten to him, Mo Gun stormed out of the room without even glancing at his master. Dean San bowed his head apologetically before hitching up his own finely made robes and hurried after the departing young man.